All right, well, we are at 9:30 and I'm sure we will have additional people join us. But we want to make sure we are conscious of everybody's time. So we will get rolling. Kathleen is going to welcome everybody. But I just wanted to thank you for joining us and thank you, Larissa, for your presentation today. I'm going to turn off mics and cameras, but I know that Larissa is going to have a couple of you speak. So when it is your turn, please feel free to turn back on your mics and cameras. If you have questions, please put them in the chat. And with that, we will get rolling. And thank you again, everybody.
Hi, welcome everybody. I'm Kathleen Alfano, and I'm a co-principal investigator for the CREATE Center, which is a National Science Foundation National Energy Center. And we are so lucky today because our speaker today is Larissa Johnson. And Larissa has been passionately committed to enhancing the well-being of communities, focusing on fostering environments that promote health and happiness, to invigorate community livelihood. And she's going to be talking about a program called P.O.W.E.R. Right now, her job is the Residential Energy Program Manager for Montgomery County's Department of Environmental Protection in Maryland. And she's going to tell us all about this great program that we were just talking has lasted at least 8 years. So you know it's really working. Now, I mentioned we are at Create Energy. If you want to learn about other things that we have and our resources, go up to createenergy.org. And we just want to mention before we get into our presentation, we have one more webinar coming up on May 2nd, so in a couple days. And we do this innovation series again in the fall, but our last one for spring is May 2nd, low-cost gas law demonstration using Arduino. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our great speaker, Larissa Johnson.
Yay, thank you so much for having us here today. I'm going to share my screen. I am Larissa Johnson. You heard all about me. And really what I'm here to talk to you about is this amazing program that is called P.O.W.E.R. And we'll tell you all about it. But really, our goal is to talk to you about how you can turn students into energy leaders. And I am joined today by one of the best examples of how you turn students into energy leaders. And Miss Caroline, will you come onto the screen and tell us a little bit how you started and what you've been doing as part of P.O.W.E.R?
Yes, hi, I'm Caroline. I'm sorry, I'm having trouble turning my camera on, but it's okay. There we go.
She's here. She's
So
here.
sorry about that. There I am. I'm Caroline. I started as a P.O.W.E.R student in 2019, and I've since graduated high school and graduated college, and I'm now one of the P.O.W.E.R coordinators and working with Nature Forward.
Awesome. Yeah, so she started as a student and then worked with us when she was in college and now is continuing to work with us. And then we have two high school students, and I'm going to have them introduce themselves. Anna and Edia, if you can come onto the camera, onto the screen, turn on your cameras and unmute yourself. And tell us your name, your school, how long you've been with P.O.W.E.R, and your favorite thing or things about being a P.O.W.E.R intern.
Yeah, so I'm Anna, and I don't know if I'm allowed to turn my camera on. Oh, there we go. Anyway, I'm Anna, and I'm a junior at Bethesda Chevy Chase High School, and I've been with the P.O.W.E.R program since I was a freshman, so 3 years now. I've really loved the opportunities for both learning and leadership with P.O.W.E.R. As students with P.O.W.E.R, we're given a lot of agency with what we want to learn about, how we run meetings and presentations. I really like this student-driven approach because I've been able to work more with topics and skills I'm familiar with, as well as learn completely new things.
Edia, are you able to unmute?
I think I started around and my favorite thing about the program is learning new things and then seeing all of the different people and their interests and what they do research.
Yes, and so Edia and Anna are joining us from their actual schools because this is the middle of the school day. So apologies if sound is a little muffled, but they are both amazing students and are doing a lot of work here for the county. So we created this presentation to just talk to you about some of the things that we have done that are successes and some challenges within the P.O.W.E.R program. As Kathy mentioned at the beginning, we have been running this program for about 8 years now, but it has changed every single year in some capacity. And as we review these challenges, we want to show you that some of the tools and strategies that we've used, and we're hoping that you can use this as a model for your organization or your school. Realistically, what this is I work for county government, so I work for a municipality. Caroline represents Nature Forward, which is a nonprofit here in Montgomery County. And then the students are part of Montgomery County Public Schools. And so they participate from different schools all over the county, not just with one school and not just with one teacher. So we have this go out to everyone, a lot of people. So there's that to talk about too. All right, Annie,
So,
go ahead.
yeah, so what is P.O.W.E.R? P.O.W.E.R is, it's an acronym which stands for Peer Outreach with Energy Resources, and it's an internship program for high school students, which is run by Montgomery County Department of Environmental Protection, like Miss Larissa said, and Nature Forward. We have weekly Zoom meetings, special field trips, presenters, and we also attend STEM and STEAM nights. Over the summer, we also provide presentations at local libraries and sometimes community centers.
Right. And that brings us directly to one of our first challenge to opportunity. So as I mentioned at the beginning, I'm the residential energy program manager for Montgomery County Department of Environmental Protection. I'm just one person. There are 1.1 million people in our county. And realistically, my goal is to reach those who pay their electricity bills. But in the path to doing that, I partner with libraries. So the very first year, I was doing 21 presentations during the summer at libraries. And that became quite a challenge because I'm only one person and I had to go to all these different locations. And so that is then where we came up with this opportunity to see how we could amplify the message, how we could get to more people. And so I had a partner at Nature Forward before Caroline was there, Miss Diane Lill, and she came to a presentation and she said, "Hey, why don't you have students lead these presentations?" And I was like, "That's amazing. I would love that. I just don't have any access with students. There's a trick here, like I don't know what to do with that." But luckily she knew everything that we should do with that. And because of that, here's a lot of the things that we were able to do that took that challenge and turned it into an opportunity. And then as you can see here, we did like a train the trainer model. So on the top corner, you can see me presenting to about 5 students. And then the next picture is those students then presenting to a whole room of elementary age kids and their parents at a library. So it was an awesome way for us to incorporate students and give them an opportunity.
Yeah, so partnering with Nature Forward also allowed, Miss Larissa already mentioned this, but it allowed her to reach a lot more people. Not only could she talk more with caregivers when interns were speaking with the children, she also benefited from interns' help in preparing hands-on energy materials, as you can see in these pictures, and even some tabling events. In the future, we really hope to expand the P.O.W.E.R program to be able to offer a variety of ways like this for interns to contribute to the community in order to make the connection to local schools. Like Ms. Larissa said, she partnered with Nature Forward because they are a local nonprofit with a longstanding partnership with the Montgomery County Public School System. And this brings us to challenge number 2.
Yeah, so after bringing students on board to the program, we're now faced with an additional challenge, which is logistics. So students are very busy people. Our students are always juggling multiple different commitments, from sports to clubs to homework to family life. And our students are also based all around the county. So some people are further up county, some people are down county, and different schools have different resources and different clubs available, and also they're at different locations. There's different access to transportation. And so one challenge that we had to face is how to make the program accessible, not only for getting from place to place, but also how can students hear about the program, how can students get involved in the program. And so another challenge as well is how to communicate meeting notes and event information and keep parents in the loop, especially since now we can have about 20 to 30 students involved in the program these past couple of years. So there's a lot to coordinate in that way. So we've started by making our application process very open and creative. And so we're trying to reach students with a wide variety of interests, from theater to acting to teaching to graphic design, not just in environmental science or education. The first year we opened our application process across the county. We ended up getting a lot of applications from juniors and seniors, and we want to know how we can make this more accessible to freshmen and sophomores, since we don't really have a requirement as to how much experience or knowledge you have in environmental science in order to participate. The idea is that the students will be learning as they participate in the P.O.W.E.R program, so no expectations up front. And so we made our application process very creative and open-ended, so students can respond to our prompts in a creative way that showcase their own personal interests. And after we made this modification to our application process, we started getting more representation from students in different grade levels and students with a very diverse array of interests. And another change that we've made after the first couple of years of the P.O.W.E.R program, and this was actually something that we had to do because it happened in 2020, we moved our meetings to Zoom. And after about a year of being on Zoom in 2020, 2021, we realized this actually made it possible for students from all around the county to be able to join us. So even after school started going back in person again and activities started coming back in person, we kept meetings happening on Zoom so that students could join us every week from wherever they were in the county. But we also started adding in-person events to have that additional enrichment and getting to know you that is that you can get in person. And for these events, we have to consider transportation and how students are going to get to where the events and field trips are. And we like to encourage carpool. So if students live nearby, they know each other, they can carpool and get to an event that way. Or if there's a parent that's able to drop off or pick up, we encourage parents to stay in the loop about that. A lot of our meetings we decide to have at the Department of Environmental Protection office, which is in a very transit accessible location. So students have the option to take the bus or the metro. And we also have outreach events all across the county. So if a student lives more up county, they have events that they can attend that are closer to where they are. They don't have to worry about going all the way down county. And same with students who live in different locations. And one really cool opportunity that we've had where the location of the field trip actually provided the transportation. We actually went on a field trip last week, and Idia will tell us a bit more about that on the next slide. And the last thing I'll note about this is that a lot of our in-person events we're able to schedule on school days off. So we like to avoid having in-person events on weekends or on holidays in case students have other commitments. But sometimes our county gives teachers a day off in order to grade papers, and so students don't have school that day, and we are able to meet on those days when students are available during the daytime.
As a student in the P.O.W.E.R program, I've had the opportunity to present at community events and attend field trips to see local energy facilities in action. An example of this is earlier this month. We went to the Glenstone Museum in Potomac, Maryland, but when we were there, we didn't just see the art. We also got to learn about how professionals in the art industry use sustainable choices to power cultural sites. And we did this event on a day off from school, and there were buses provided and also carpooling to help as many people as possible get there. And we visited sites across different industries as part of the program, from recycling centers to waste energy facilities, for nuclear reactors. And all these in-person things can connect what we learned in other different ways, which in turn puts us with more knowledge to share in our communities with each other. This feels like we want to go to the next one.
Awesome, thank you. So we have another challenge. You may have heard of this. The name of this is glossophobia. So if this photo of someone sticking a microphone in front of your face scares you, you are not alone, because about 77% of people have some form of anxiety when it comes to public speaking. So with high school students, this was one of the biggest things we had to get them comfortable doing, was being able to talk in front of groups, large and small, virtual and in person. And so we did that in a variety of different ways. One of the major ways that we did this was we had a professional speaker from a local Toastmasters group come out and actually train the students. And we've done that from every single year. It depends on who the presenter is, but we always bring someone from Toastmasters in to talk about all the challenges of public speaking. And we even have them run them through table topics and things like that. But this is one of those skills that the students have access to through our program, but it will also translate to so many different things in their lives, you know, through the college process, the college application process, and then in real life applications as well.
So that brings us on to another challenge, which is something that came out of discussions that we've had early on into the P.O.W.E.R program, and discussions that I remember having even as a P.O.W.E.R student when it was during the COVID pandemic, when I was a P.O.W.E.R student. So we always having conversations and trying to build the relationships with each other and with members of the program. So when in education, it's really important to build relationships with the students and listen to the students and get to know them on a personal level. So with our weekly meetings, we always start off with a check-in and a warm-up activity to just have fun, get to know each other, and check in with everyone, see how they're doing. Sometimes, however, we start with more serious conversations, especially now with a lot of things that we're hearing in the news about environmental science and environmental education. And sometimes we find earlier this year, we found that engagement, like cameras were on less frequently and attendance was a little bit more stagnant. So we sat our students down to check in and see how we can support them in engaging with the program. And we heard a lot about different challenges that the students are facing coming out of a global pandemic, adapting to busy schedules, exams, extracurriculars, and being engaged with one another when for most of the time we're meeting each other on Zoom. And we realized that the idea of the Energy Express and the P.O.W.E.R program is to inspire students to take individual actions to conserve energy. And if students aren't feeling as empowered about their individual ability to make a difference, we really wanted to focus on how students can make a difference on a local scale. So then we have several activities that we've gone throughout the year. For example, here's a climate emotions wheel that we did, I think in February. And this was a reflective activity where we just got to know how people are feeling about climate change, about the state of the environment, and the kind of work that we're engaging with in the P.O.W.E.R program. And another activity that we've done as a group are talking about spheres of influence and narrowing down our impact and really seeing our impact on an individual and an interpersonal scale. And Idia will tell us a bit more about that on the next slide and what this looks like.
So the P.O.W.E.R program's hyper local focus from the county as a whole to our own neighborhoods and homes helps us understand what differences we can make as an individual and on an individual and interpersonal scale. For example, having us conduct energy audits in our own homes, we learn what to look out for in the spaces that we occupy every day, and how to start conversations with family members about energy efficiency, appliance usage, and habits. By hearing from professionals across local groups, we learn about local resources, organizations, and policies that we as MCPS constituents can engage with. And by presenting at Montgomery County Public Schools, libraries, community events, we can share our knowledge with people who grew up around or attended school with, and share spaces with every day. All of this keeps us grounded and optimistic about the differences that we can.
Thank you, Idia. And of course, this brings us to our fifth and final challenge, which also brings us back to the very beginning of this. So the thing that we were trying to do, the big challenge that we had was that I'm just one person and I was trying to go to 21 different libraries. And so through the course of our program, we have changed drastically into having the students do a lot more on the local scale, on the personal scale, but also we still want to have that connection with libraries because they are such an amazing partner. But the challenge is, how do you connect energy to a summer reading theme? And so as you can see here, these are some of the summer reading themes that we have had in the past. And sometimes they are so general, like build a better world. What does that look like? This year it's color me a world. Color me a world. I think that's what it's called. And so what we try to do is we try to connect whatever the theme is to an energy or energy or electricity focus. And so this past year, oh gosh, all together now, but then, oh gosh, Caroline, what was our last year theme? Oh
Was it
boy.
energy mysteries?
Oh
Was that
yes,
the year before? I can't remember. Mysteries.
energy
Oh no, it
mystery.
was around the was it around the world? I'm getting the years confused.
We have a lot of mystery, a lot of things. So energy mystery. So what the students then did, and as you can see from the beginning of this, like from the all aboard the Energy Express, that's when I did it by myself. But as we have transformed this program, we've also transformed how the students present about this. They come up with everything. They come up with the script, they come up with the theme, they come up with the connection. They also then help with the graphic designing of all of this. They do so much to make this come to life, and they're just so creative when they do all of this. And of course, we've done it in virtual. We had to do it a lot of years virtually, and we're back in person. But it's been such an amazing opportunity to have the students give these presentations to younger students and to their families too, who get to come. Thank you for all of the lists.
Recent meetings, after having heard from the power directors for the first part of the year, the table have turned on us to lead training sessions and peers. Every week we get to participate in activities and learn about new. And for instance, last night I led the community building activity to get everyone's come on and engaged. And Julietta led a presentation about the history of Earth Day with the virtual bucket game to test their knowledge.
Awesome. Yeah. So what we do is we now, again, because we're in our 8th year, we are really trying to make sure that the students are guiding what they are learning. And we still have the same principles of what we're doing. We do the presentations in the summer. We have the students attend STEAM nights and STEM nights. As you can see here, they're using a hand crank to show kids the difference between LED and incandescent light bulbs. But we really want them to take the lead of this as we move forward, because it's really all about what they're learning and how they're learning it, and then how they exchange that information with other folks. And we can tell them what to do, but we really like to see how they do things. Like yesterday, I learned all about Blooket. Never knew about it before, but it's a new tool that I will be utilizing.
Yeah, so the biggest takeaway, if we could give advice to anyone leading this kind of program with students, is to be creative and let the students lead. There's so much creativity that the students can bring to the table. And I remember as a former Power student in the program, the opportunity to present my own ideas and research has really helped me develop communications and research skills. And as someone now looking on to the students in the Power program, I see the same is true about students hearing from each other. Something that we've noticed about now that the students are giving presentations during our weekly meetings is that there's so much excitement when students talk about, for example, local advocacy organizations that students can get involved with, and historical student protests for the environment. So having students be able to learn about and present about and also be climate role models to each other is something that generates a lot of energy and a lot of excitement, and something you really see with such a peer-led student group like P.O.W.E.R.
Awesome. Thank you, Caroline. And we just want to make sure that if you want to do a program like this, please reach out to us. I'll have our contact information on the last slide, but also be creative, let the students lead, try new things, celebrate teamwork, and really focus on partnerships, because this would not be a possibility without that collaboration of the county, municipal government, the nonprofit, and then the schools. The last thing that we always try to do is to keep in touch. So before the end of the session is over for the year, we bring in the alumni from other years, those that are in college, and they come and talk to the current students about their experience and what they're doing now. So here's our contact information. Please do feel free to reach out to us. All of this is on our website, powermontgomery.wordpress.com, which is run by the students as well. So if you have any questions, please reach out. This is not something that we want to hold just here in Montgomery County. We would love to have other places around the country doing things that are similar. And we would love to answer any questions.
Well, we have one question from Gabby about how many students do you have in the program?
Oh boy, that has changed. So the first year we had 7 students, I do believe. And that was because when we first started, we met on once a month on Sundays for 4 hours. And because the students were coming from all different locations. Every year we've changed the format in some way, shape, or form, whether because of the pandemic or because we realized it was a lot easier to bring students together. Right now, Caroline, what do we have? 22, 24?
Yeah, like 20, I think 24, 26,
24. Yeah.
somewhere around that range.
We decided, so we went from, I think we went from 6 to 12, and then 12 to 24, and then 24 to 30. And then we decided that 30 was too many. Because what we were trying to do is we were trying to do 21 presentations during the summer and trying to coordinate that and like who's presenting with whom and like da 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 da. So we decided that 24 is kind of the sweet spot for a program like this, because they're able to connect. And then you have more than one from a high school, so they get to know each other in their high school area, as well as getting to know other people in the county. But yeah, 24 is our magic number, I think, right now. But they don't all come all the time. That's the other thing too, you know, and they then get to determine what type of events they're doing, whether they're doing STEM nights or the presentations, or whether they're leading a presentation for their peers. So they get to pick and choose how they're participating. And then the other thing we forgot to mention, I don't know if we did, but they get SSL hours. So here in Montgomery County, every student who graduates from Montgomery County Public Schools has to complete student service learning hours. And so we provide that. So they get hours for participating in our weekly meetings. They get hours for doing some of the research and homework that they have to do. They get hours for leading the presentations and for attending the STEM nights. So they do a lot of that. And then how do we determine the energy activities for the outreach events? Great question. The students a lot of times do that. We do have some things that are standard, like our hand crank. We bring that to a lot of events, but then we sometimes have brought in art projects. Caroline, do you want to talk about the Rockville Science Day?
Yeah, a couple years ago for Rockville Science Day, we had a group of students develop basically their own exhibit. And so students created a map or a blueprint of a school, and the activity was that participants can come up to this map and write in or draw in how they think their school could become more sustainable. And so that was developed entirely by the students, like all the research was done by the students, and then the graphics and the poster boards that was done by the students. So that's one example of just like a whole exhibit that the students really carried from the bottom up and really made that their own.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, we really try. Again, at the beginning, it was Miss Lil and I that were like kind of leading things, and we were doing train the trainer essentially, and we still do a train the trainer model, but we really now, because we have students like Anna who started as a freshman and now is a junior, so she's had 2 years, so we can't do the same presentations year after year because we have the same students, and so they would just get bored. They'd be like, "Ugh, Miss Larissa, we already know this, you already did this with us." So what we do now is the first year we lead it, and then hopefully the second year, but now it's almost that the students lead everything. So the the content may be the same, like we have an energy Jeopardy game that they do, but they then lead it and the new students are learning something, but then the students who are leading it are also learning something and are able to change the questions and update them and things like that.
Well, Larissa and Carolyn, this is so impressive. I mean, you make something that's really a difficult objective look easy, and it's a great model for something student-driven that obviously seeing from your students and your success story with Carolyn is a wonderful model for people to adopt, and I hope more people are able to use it. So please let us know how many contact you, because as Tiffany says here, this is awesome, and I agree with her. So thank you so much.
Yes, and I'm happy to answer. We are happy to answer any and all questions that you have. I will say that one of the benefits of this, or one of the reasons why we're still here, is because you do need that continuity of at least 1 or 2 adults, because the students will graduate and then they have other things that they're doing. And so they do stay in touch, but in order to have that consistency, you do have to have some sort of programmatic person that's there. And so Caroline's been able to do that for the most part, but myself and Jeff Chandler from Nature Forward is now the other partner. And I can't believe it took me that long to mention him. I'm so sorry, Jeff. But but yeah, so we create like the house, you know, like we create the structure and then the students fill it.
Well, thank you. Great job. And I hope a lot of people take advantage of your offer to duplicate this somewhere else.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, everyone.